Save a spot on your team for these 10 underrated units. How's it, everybody? Celtic Link here. We're back for another Dokkan battle video. In today's video, we have for you 10 units I feel are highly underrated and should always be considered when building your teams. These characters that we're going to go over in this video are not necessarily the best characters, but they all have abilities that make them very, very useful that will assist you in either clearing certain difficult missions, certain difficult stages, or anything in between. So without further ado, let's go ahead, let's hop in to the first unit. I believe is highly underrated, and that is the AGL Beerus. Now this list is in no particular order, just 10 units I believe are very much underrated and deserve a spot in our team. So this AGL Beerus was a banner unit from the 10th anniversary, right? He was on the Gogeta banner, and he is doing a lot, right? He is changing rainbow key spheres to rainbow, which helps out Gogeta and a lot of others on that team. He's got dodge, he's got additional attacks that with 50% supers. He's supporting the successors category. He's getting tons of additional attacks depending on how much HP you have left. He's also got an additional crit chance when facing enemies with 50% or more HP. So very, very nice there. So he is more or less a mini version of Tech Beerus. He's got guard, he's got a ton of attacks, and a little bit of dodge to help him out. He's a little mini Tech Beerus, but what makes him good is the support he's providing for the successors category, and of course, right, he can actually deal some damage after a little bit of buildup. It makes him a great supporting role unit for orb changing on the AGL Gogeta's team. So I wanted to start off with him because I believe he was hardly talked about during the 10th anniversary, despite being a relatively good banner unit compared to most other banner units we've gotten. Speaking of 10th anniversary, we have a free-to-play unit coming in at number 9 here for the 10th anniversary. We have the PHY Trunks and Goten Kid reversible exchange unit. Since the 10th anniversary, we have had a plethora of youth category missions, and these guys surprisingly help so very much with the missions. For being a free unit that is on EZA, they're actually incredibly good. When in the Trunks form, right, you are getting things like guard with 3 or more key spheres, 2 or more get you an extra 150% defense, 1 or more get you an additional super attack, on top of getting 40% attack and 20% defense for every key sphere obtained. Once exchanged right into the Goten, similar thing is happening here, right? 5 or more key spheres, damage reduction, 3 or more, 150% defense, additional super attack with type key sphere obtained, and 15 and 30% for every type key sphere obtained. So really, really good options for these fights. So they make a really solid option sliding in onto character like Kid Goku's team or any other youth team, and they will help you clear whatever missions you got. They are that good for a free to play unit. Speaking of other non-available units, the Bulma Bunny is a unit I wanted to talk about a little bit. I guess we could say at number 8 here. This character is, I mean, more or less you would think a dodge or die character, but believe it or not, she has a lot in her passive that allows her to be, not necessarily dodge or die. She has an innate 50% chance of evading, but she also has the ability to launch multiple super attacks. All of that combined gives her a chance to do really well, especially when you consider that she can also kind of pseudo go slot 1 depending on how your turn goes, because she gets some extra damage, extra chance of evading enemies' attack in those cases. So really, really good there. And so she's one of those, like, for every time she evades, she gets that much better at it. So very, very, very good here. She is a staple on almost any team she can be run on, right? If you're going to be running DB Saga, you need her. Peppy Gals need her. Earthbred Fighters or Dragon Ball Seeker is definitely a good choice to throw on those teams, especially because, right, with the new Kid Goku, at least at first, there aren't too many slot 1 options for him. She can fulfill that, as she does have 3 links with the guy. So from there, we have another banner unit. This one EZA'd last year, and he's actually surprisingly good. The main thing with him was, like, when he released, is we didn't really have a relevant Gohan to activate the larger portion of his passive. Now we do. 2, in fact, even. We have the Fizz Super Saiyan 2 Gohan, and we have the STR Super Saiyan Gohan from the STR Super Saiyan Goku and Gohan. So having that makes him, you know, it kind of brought him back a little bit, right? He has, it allows him to get his extra defense and his support, which in turn allows him to take less due to the increased damage reduction that he gets for it. So definitely a good unit to throw in on a team if you are going to run the STR Gohan and an Android Cell Saga setup, right? Because he does kind of want to be around that, and STR Cell does allow him to do that, so may as well lean into it. So that brings us to our next unit here. All right, these two, before jumping into the last ones, the AGL Vegeta and Broly, kind of underrated for the same reasons. These are 2 units that were panned on release for just not quite being good enough, up to snuff for what we would expect at that point, post Worldwide, post 9th anniversary. But it turns out, right, the things that they're doing, while were not perfect for the meta he released in, even though I personally think they were good, are things that allow them to succeed in the current meta more so, right? With the Vegeta having the ability to change key spheres and get extra power based on how many key he gets, makes him really good for one of the hardest fights in the game, and that is the Festival of Battles, right? The long this event right here, the long 70+ turn, 2+ hour fight. The more stacking units you have, the easier it is to take on such a difficult fight such as this. So definitely say he's underrated for that event, although I know many of you have probably seen the showcases. Speaking of the event, another unit I feel is underrated, especially for the event, is the Int Broly EZATUR. Like the others, like the AGL Vegeta, just wasn't quite looked up to on release. Not quite good enough for the major releases at the time, right? But, you know, with a little bit of work, he could work in those previous fights. It just took a lot more for him than it did for others due to his slow defense stacking, right? Because his defense stacking is just raises plainly. He has a 20%, which means he stacks defense slowly. However, that slow stack also, like the Vegeta, allowed him to work very well in the new Festival of Battles event. So definitely highly underrated. You guys have probably seen the video we did on him in that event. You can see why he is just that good for the fight. So moving on to our last 3 units, in no particular order, we have what I believe to be, you know, some of the top 3 contenders for most underrated. Number 1 is the Int Vegeta. This guy felt like he was going to get hard replaced with the existence of the with the existence of the STR Blue Evolution Vegeta and pushing into the 220% meta. But he managed to hang on for dear life by moving himself to, non-universal survival saga teams where he can do very, very well. He is one of the few units who can tank a lot of these major supers post-super because of the way his damage reduction works based on taking a hit. It also makes it very easy to proc his revive later in the fights, because Lord knows that he does need it to get, to a point of certain invulnerability post-revive. But even if you're playing without that, he's still going to be doing really good as a floater, given everything we just discussed. Which brings us to our last two most underrated units. Now, I know this might be a surprise for a lot of people, but I do believe that these two, being the super easy A's that they are, had a huge hype in preparation for their release. They had a huge expectation that couldn't really been met, and that's kind of led them to be underrated and undervalued. Vegito, for example, has near 80% damage reduction to normal attacks, which means he only has to take a super and he could possibly die, but otherwise, as long as he's taking normals, he's doing just fine. He's going to be able to tank them and hit back hard, since his counters are hitting back with tremendous power. A lot of people complained that Tech Vegito may have caused too much power creep in terms of botched HP. Well, AGL Gogeta is one of the few units that can compete up there and help out in that regard. So from there, that brings us to our final unit, the STR Gogeta. People had a huge expectation for this guy, expecting him to relive his glory days of the best unit in the game, and it didn't quite get there. And as a result, like the Vegito, many people began to underrate, undervalue, and almost completely misunderstand them. So many current bosses can be attack and defense lowered, and one of the things that he does really well is greatly lowering enemies' attack and defense when he supers. Add on to the fact that he can do upwards of 4 supers, and with each one he can, he gains, as long as you get the rainbow key spheres, right, he's got a little extra defense there, which makes him a great floating option for a lot of folks coming, for a lot of teams, really, right? A lot of folks can put him on. He can go into any movie heroes team, any team with Vegito, any team with Gogeta because of their fused fighters lead, any team, I mean, if we just look at the categories here, right, Super Saiyans, Final Trump Card, Powerful Comeback, Fusion, Earth Protecting Heroes, right? These are all like pretty staple teams, or at least are sub-leads on some other bigger leaders that he can just slide right on into, making himself incredibly useful on top of the support he is providing for the team, right? While a little bit of support, it's still pretty good, right? As long as he is facing a extreme enemy. Oh, we gotta finish this. We got, crit, guard, and a lot of extra stuff, but it doesn't even need it when facing a super enemy, right? You have a 70% chance to guard, but you are also giving your allies attack 40%. So very, very useful there to get these long, difficult stages done faster. So guys, that is it for the video. Those are my top 10 underrated units in Dokkan Battle. Now wait, you might be thinking, Celtic, you forgot one. No, I didn't. I believe this character is very, very much one of the most underrated TURs in the game, the Dokkan Fest Tech Vegeta. This dude is one of the few 2024 TURs that survived, I think, into the next meta. With his guard and stacking, he is able to handle just about every red zone, and while his stacks are slow, he can handle Festival of Battles pretty well too. So he's an option there for you if you're someone who has not quite not quite beaten the event yet. His also early turn seals make him also a great option for short fights like Battle Hardened Formidable Foes. Like I said, he is a character that can literally do it all, and that's kind of why I feel like he is one of the most underrated units currently. So guys, that is it for the video. If you like the video, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you have not already, and in the comments down below let us know, are there any underrated units you think I missed? Who do you think are your most underrated units? These are just ones that I feel, based on my experience and what I've seen other people use, I feel like these are some of the bigger underrated units that I don't see a whole lot of people talking about. So if nothing else, guys, thanks for watching, and aloha.